I just had a whole panic for a second. I wouldn't call it a panic. I was just a little annoyed. Edited and did all this other stuff for a script that I suddenly couldn't find. Surprise, Sofa's recording 3 scripts at once. Yes, the duck is in the booth today. Y'all don't understand. But regardless, we're going to go ahead and get into this script, especially since I just realized that I have it still and we're all good. Well, we are back in the Wasteland study, and this is where we finally get aspects of the process. To up our knowledge, we're going back to the basics, and we're going to use the study method. We essentially did the first part of the study already with our attempt, but it resulted in a fully realized piece of art, so it was safe to say that, we had most of that down. It was time to hyperfixate. We were in reference territory. First, I started with a bare tree, but to really understand this, we need to see different types. I found plenty of those and was ready to start the push here. The goal was to just illustrate wood with nothing obstructing its form. You know my process for studies by now, and if you're new, that means you've got some catching up to do.
You may have made an egregious mistake, but that's fine. Just like the video, and I'll forgive you this time. The How to Draw Like a Duck playlist is right up here. Now, rendering trees is nothing like rendering skin. If I was going to get better at this, I needed to be as observant as possible. When rendering something like this, there are things you should still have to do, but then there's a bunch of steps that we just don't go through at all. We won't go through all those steps, like all the little things, but I do want to make some notable points. With the trace and shape steps, don't BS this. Go over each branch and get a good feel for creating the entirety of it. There are things that people normally would guess at, hoping that they would get it right, but that just isn't the right answer here. The jaggedness of the branches, large and small, are the key to making this believable. Start with the base of the tree and work your way out to the large branches, then the medium and the small. Thin the size of your chosen brush over time, and eventually you'll have a shape that will end up looking great. Only after suffering through this process close to like a dozen times did I try to do this off instinct. I know, I'm the same duck that said try to make it fun. But I also clarified right before that there are some regimented things that are necessary. This is one of them. If you can find a way to make it fun, then please do. I just couldn't find anything other than the satisfaction from completing the whole tree. There's a clear balance between work and play here. Each tree is unique, and getting a feel for the direction of that unique tree's branch pattern will play off in the future. Play off? I'm not rereading that. Hell no. When thinking of texture, trees can be smooth, but are mostly jagged with like various openings and different things. I wanted my trees to look like they had weathered the storm of time and turmoil. I needed all the twists and turns and crevices of worn bark. Most trees you're drawing are probably not small, so you're operating on the large scale for most of these. Keep that in mind when you're deciding what to give time to. Looking at your light source and where it's coming from is standard across the board, but how your subject takes on light changes completely when it comes to differentiating between smooth and rough textures. Those last 3 steps, definition, shadow, and shine, will really take center stage here. Using different branches and brushes and everything during the steps will set your tree apart, but make calculated choices about this. Think about the texture you want and how some brushes can portray it. All these little openings and edges gave plenty of room for me to emphasize the lighting and position. This didn't take long to understand, so after a few handfuls of the tree studies, I think I was ready for the next step. It was time for an experiment.
As a quick test of what I learned, I decided to build a landscape, something worn and destroyed. I wasn't looking for things to be perfect, it was more like, can I fit all the puzzle pieces here? I wanted to stretch out in all directions and do all aspects of the art at the same time. How would I do this? By literally working on them all together. I hopped back and forth, knowing the different aspects of the story that I wanted to tell. And I just pushed as far as I could with it. Before we get too deep into this, side note. At some point, I'm going to talk about how I use different assets from different pieces, both art, by literally dragging and dropping the layers from one file to another. And I already know at least one of you ducks in the comments will have something to say.
Sofa, did you take trees from the study and put them in your actual painting?
Yes.
You're a cheater! He cheated!
Did you miss the part where I drew them all myself? It's no different than if I were to use a reference mid-painting. I get it, it feels like cheating or that you've cheapened your artwork in some way, but I can assure you that isn't the case.
Imagine thinking to yourself that this art has developed nicely and just needs one more asset to make it perfect that you've already drawn in the background of earlier work. You get excited and think, oh, I already did this. I did it before, so it'll be easy. Then realizing that 2 hours later, you're losing your mind because you can't get the shape just right. Yeah, I have a lot to get through, so copy, paste, done. In reality, if you have the opinion that it's wrong or deceitful, you're in the minority. But, live by the rules that you want to live by. I see people ask this question all the time, but it's really not that big of a deal. You drew it in the first place. Adjust the color and the lighting, then keep it moving. I chose a bit of color to start with, like a red and a brown, since the color palette seemed to invoke the feeling I was going for. At first, as a placeholder, I put in the tree assets from Daybreak to figure out some positioning. I knew for a fact that these wouldn't be permanent, so I just played around with the placements before stepping away. I figured I'd be inspired by switching gears, so I literally stopped working on the first scar, and I went to working on the fourth scar, letting inspiration hit whenever it did. Honestly, the fourth scar was kind of just dumping ground for colors, until it wasn't. But we'll talk about that later. For now, Side note. Yes, another one because I feel like this is relevant now. This entire project is out of order, and I mentioned it last time, but that's perfectly okay. When creating anything, there's no need to make it all in order. To be honest, I used to think that in my earlier days, which was crazy. Like I was skipping the level of a video game or an episode of a show or something, which would have me completely missing context. Except, I'm not. Because I'm the one giving the context here. Can't be missing it if I'm the one making it. Creating out of order allows you to operate in the inspiration while it's sharp and hot, rather than, waiting to naturally progress to it, risking the ideal of becoming less exciting or dull in any way, shape, or form. Hell, right now, I'm literally ignoring the ear study, which I'm supposed to be working on because inspiration for Wasteland shot back up. And I didn't finish Wasteland, like any of those videos, last year 3 times because I saw DTIOS challenges that were cool, or I started working on Gleam, then did Creature Feature. I did a lot of just jumping around. The interest part of my brain is definitely an excited squirrel. Make sure you're having fun, okay? Switch for a refresh if you need it. Some of my ideas would not work in this piece, but others did, and it made my entire journey one of adaptability and exploration. Eventually, I used the trees I had just completed earlier as a starter because I had an idea. Earlier, I wanted burning or flames, but it wasn't working. Then, I rethought the message
and I decided the immediate aftermath was what I was looking for here. At this point, I was carving in details. The surrounding area began to take shape that, I hadn't really anticipated. This place wasn't just going to be an empty plain. There had to be more beyond that. Trees in the distance with simple leaf and lighting details. The subtlety was what I had gained from this. I still put detail in, but that note of subtlety was something that I decided to take in for later. Nothing like finding a study within a study. I decided for this piece I was going to play around with certain features for the ground just a bit. This was going to give me something to latch onto. But looking back now, there was so much more I could have done. That's the beauty of this, though. This was a study based solely on the trees. Notes for how to continue will be annotated in my ground study in the future. Clearly, I'm going to need one. No landscape can be completed without the beautiful addition of the sky. I got so wrapped up in representing everything else that I had forgotten that eventually I'd be able to indulge in some comfort art. I hadn't started the sky study just yet at this time, but I was there sometime last summer. Yes, as much as I loved the sky study, I pushed it off as well. Look forward to that in the future. You guys should know that this meant I was pretty much coasting in the art now. Once I worked in all of my preferred details for the sky, I was done. With all that and a few touch-ups, we completed our experience with the first scar. Singe. All right, there we go. Guys, I lost this script. I lost it and actually recorded part 3. It's ridiculous. Yeah, so I had rewritten the script and edited and everything well before all this, but and I might have mentioned it in the beginning, or I might not. I might have cut it out. Who knows? Who cares? I lost this script and I was freaking out for a half a second. I was like, man, that sucks. I'm really gonna have to look for this at some point, but I don't have time to do that right now because I have 3 scripts to record. So, well, at that point I was like, well, I don't have 3, I have 2 now. Either way, I went ahead and recorded part 3 before this, and then I ended up finding part 2 right after, which is fine. That's great. That's perfectly fine because now I still recorded them both. But just know that I'm kind of trying to burn through a few of these. If you guys haven't seen shorts and stuff and reels and stuff from me lately, it's because I'm actually leaning in on these and a few other videos. I'm trying to put a lot of work into those. I will catch up with the shorts and reels, I promise. I'm probably just going to do 3 a days until I actually catch up. But for now, I'm trying to lean in on getting the next few videos taken care of. By the time you guys are seeing this, you might actually notice that there are 3 a days being dropped for a little bit. But regardless, hope you guys enjoyed the process of seeing the study for this and Singe. And just understand that, we've got one more video where we're going to go over 2 more of the scars. And I hope you guys enjoy that in its entirety. We'll have the playlist for this somewhere on here. It'll be on the channel. I think I've already made it. It just probably only has 2 videos in it now. But with that being said, I will see you soon.